The saying often goes, offense sells tickets, defense wins championships. Defense is one of the most overlooked skills in fighting games. You know, it's not flashy, it's not cool, but honestly, it's what wins you matches.
What a block early from him.
And it's one of the big reasons I can play a random character in a random fuse. Juggernaut? Oh, hell no. And I can do very well against 99% of the players is because my defensive skills and my understanding of the system mechanics is much better than my opponents. And I want to talk about just how you can use defense to improve your game at 2xKO. Oh, he's trying to be cheeky. And the first tip of good defense is don't get hit. Look, a lot of it comes down to having good neutral. And we're not even gonna cover neutral here. The thing is, defense in this game is really messed up. Like, take for example this, right? I force you to block. You just had to take two 50-50s in a row, right? That's a cross up. I can go fake cross up, right? I can do, this is a high. This is a low. By the way, that hit cross up. So a lot of the goal, for example, if you're fighting the Violawi team, is not to be in this situation in the first place. One of the goals when you're fighting Yasuo Echo is not to be in the situation where they do this. If you can outrange this, or you can stuff them, you don't have to worry about getting sandwiched. I do something like stuff the assist. Then I don't have to worry about taking a mix-up. So a lot of defense does come down to making sure you're doing well in neutral, or you're just not being put in a position where you have to block in the first place. That being said, you are going to get hit regardless. Doesn't matter how good you are at neutral, you're going to be getting hit and you need to know what to do. So our actual focus is going to be on what do you do once you get hit. I think the first thing to focus on there is the get up button. So you have 4 options as you're getting up. Back roll, forward roll, regular get up, and get up attack, right? If you're a new player, you probably think the strongest options are roll and get up attack. But at high level, you actually just need to get up without rolling. And there's a big reason for that. Anytime you're knocked down on the ground, I'm going to put the dummy to random tech, which means they'll either do back rise, forward rise, or no rise, or like rise in place, right? And anytime I get a knockdown, right, I do this, I can actually stop all 3 options by just doing a very, I want to call it basic sequence, that if I just follow them and I react to the roll and I'm blocking the get up attack, I basically have an option that covers 3 out of 4. You see, I just did it like consistent. I just hit 3 times in a row. And I usually like end in super and the timing's a little bit different, right? But you get the idea is most characters, when you're in the corner, can catch roll, and like if they catch back roll, it's not that bad. Like if I miss the back roll, because at least you're still in the corner, you're forced to block, right? Because like good players can throw the rolls and they can block get up attacks. Your main option is to just sit there and block. That being said, everything has a use. So based on this, it seems like getting up is really hard, but it's about understanding when the options become better compared to other options, right? So for example, if I do this every time, if I'm reacting to the roll and I'm blocking get up attack, right? See, I reacted. That means if they're just mashing on wake up, I can't actually beat this because I'm hedging against get up attack. I'm forced to block because if I want to bait the get up attack, generally I can't beat a wake up mash. The only way I can cover both options is by doing something like this, where I call an assist. And then it'll catch that. But you can actually react to assist and not match. Not to mention, after most combos, I get a hit off an assist, which is generally where you're getting most of your hits from. I actually don't have assist available. So if you just look at the portrait and you see they don't have assist available, you know they can't actually meet you with an assist, which means mash becomes better. So the first takeaway is doing a button on wake up is good if you have them conditioned to block the get up attack, because it's really hard for them to stop both. The second is wake up roll is actually pretty good sometimes, right? Particularly like when you're mid screen, it's really hard for me to catch the back roll here. And in fact, I don't think I can actually catch it. So if I try to run, see, like I have no way of catching the back roll. So back roll in mid-screen situations is actually really important if you can get away from them. And even take, for example, a knockdown like this, I can catch the back roll, but it's really hard for me to tech chase both. Yeah, see, I can't reach him in time, right? So roll mid-screen is pretty good. Wake up button, when they're scared of the wake up attack, is really good. And you have to make sure you use wake up attack. But we actually haven't talked about the strongest wake up option yet, which is actually fuzzy jump. So take, for example, you're just doing a basic Vi mix-up, right? I'm either going to do a throw or I'm gonna do a strike, because Vi mix-up isn't that crazy, right? So mashing isn't that good because literally if I knock you down once, you're probably gonna die from this combo, right? And you don't want to just sit there, because then I can throw you and then I can like call my assist and like do this and then do that, and then, you know, I can get a lot of damage off of even just a throw, right? So how do I defend against this? You do something what's called a delay tech, which is you do a throw tech at a delayed timing and it covers both options, right? So you see I'm able to tech there and I'm able to block the meat. That being said, throw tech loses to stuff like this. So they'll like run up and they'll do a jump, or they'll like try to shimmy you, right? So that's a pretty scary option. At a high level, what I think the best option actually is you do a what's called a fuzzy jump, which is you block for a little bit and then you jump. And this works because you can't actually throw someone as they're getting up. So for example, if I try to throw the Vi as they get up, you see how my throw just kind of whiffs, right? If I do a strike at the same timing, it'll actually hit. It's because there's this mechanic called throw protection, which means you can't be thrown right as you're getting up. Which means that if you wait a little bit and then jump, you'll be able to jump the throw and you'll be able to just block the strike, right? Yeah, and obviously there's ways to beat it, right? So for example, if the opponent is like just fuzzy jumping at like a given time, like you can like react and then air throw. But like if I'm reacting and air throwing, that means your mash on wake up works, right? Or I can like try to like time my button correctly to beat the jump timing, because the jump is vulnerable on startup. And don't be afraid to just block, right? Especially if they don't have that scary of a mix-up, or you think they're gonna be scared to throw you. Just blocking is perfectly okay. And the reason why is because of two mechanics: push block and parry. Let's talk about how to use push block. So you've probably seen something like this. And then you see this bullshit, right? There's a few times you want to push block this, right? The time you don't want to push block is right before the assist comes out, because then the assist puts you in block stun, they hit your side character, and you're not going to be having a good time, right? So either you want to do it super early before they get a chance to get the assist out, or you want to do it after the assist and before they're able to switch. Or you can do it after the switch. Important thing is you hold down back and you press the tag button. And there's one other really important thing about using push block is if you're assuming you're playing double down, 2x, or freestyle, you can do a move after the push block and then tag your partner, which gives you additional space to work with. So for example, the sequence, I push block the first hit, I mash 5 S1 with Vi, and then I get even if Yasuo blocks, I'm able to get all the screen space. How do you counter push block? That's more for the offense guide, but I mean, really, it's about calling your assist at the right time, predicting when the push block is going to happen. So, for example, like take this string, I can just cut the short, and then the assist will hit the second character, right? So if I call my assist earlier. So there is kind of a guess on like when you think they'll call the assist, but generally most players, like they want to do like a hit confirm, right? They want to like make sure, okay, this guy is blocking and didn't get hit. Now I'll use my assist, because I don't want to just waste my assist on getting hit, because it's going to be less damage, right? So like, let's say I'm doing a combo like this. I don't want to use my assist here because my combo kind of sucks and it gets scaled. So as a Vi player, I want to hit confirm that you got hit and go into a combo. Or if you're blocking, I see that you're blocking, and then I go for my fucked up mix up, right? You get the idea. So that means my timing can get a little predictable, which means push block becomes a lot stronger. All right, let's talk about the second mechanic, parry. Now, I might have shown you something that looked pretty fucked up, and there's a lot of pretty messed up situations in this game, but a lot of it can actually be mitigated with parry. So take, for example, this Lowy 2x assist that people think is really, really strong. There's a gap in here that you know that can be parried, because in order for this to be a side switch, there has to be a gap, right? In order for this to cross up, you see how I'm getting hit there just holding down back? That being said, the parry is tough to time, but it's something that mitigates a lot of the offense in this game. The best things to parry in general are things that are reactable. Allow back assist, you can react to this and hit parry. Now there's a trick to this. You should always hit back first before you hit parry. And the idea is, in case I miss the parry timing, I just get a block. So it's not that bad, right? The way parry works is there's two parries. There's a high parry and a low parry. Almost always you're using the high parry because parrying lows, you can't really parry lows on reaction. Well, most lows on reaction. So you have to be really careful not to get the low parry here because you'll just get fucked up and you lose a meter. But I'll stand block, I'll parry, and not only does that blow back the opponent, but it makes it my turn, and then I can do stuff like this to punish the assist. And their assist is on cooldown, you have your assist earlier. The situation for parrying something like an assist is still really good even if you don't punish the opponent. But where it becomes really good are these guaranteed situations. So like parrying assist is kind of risky because like, let's say they do something like this. I see a Lowy come out, I'm like, oh, it's a Lowy assist. I whiff a parry, I die. So there is counterplay to this, but there's certain things there's actually no counterplay. For example, this charge heavy. I have no way to bait the parry for charge heavy here, unless I just mistime it. And I think the window is 10 frames for parry, so it's actually pretty lenient. So obviously, like if I do it early, I'm gonna die, but if I just do it as late as possible, it's almost always gonna work. And if you do it really late and you happen to block, I'll see, I did it super late there, right? All you have to do, it's a pretty risk-free parry attempt because, you're still blocking, right? So like, it's not the worst thing just to block that. So this is really what you want to focus on, the things that are guaranteed. And off of a parry, you get some pretty decent damage too. It does scale your combo a bit, but compared to not getting a combo at all, this is actually quite nice, right? So I think normally my combo here would do like 450 and it does 350 instead. Okay, that's still a lot of damage, and it's a reversal of fortune because now they got to deal with tangle setup. So you see how defense leads into offense very, very quickly. So these at high level, these charge moves or anything that's reactable is actually a pretty bad idea. Now let's take this a step further. Again, anything you can react to, you can technically parry. So what about this Vi overhead? This is reactable. This is 25 frames. Yes, you kind of have to anticipate it, but you can also parry it on, if you can block it on reaction, you can also parry it on reaction, right? And you can get the same punch. So parry is actually a super strong mechanic that you want to get used to because it can change the dynamic of so many different mix-ups in this game. Take, for example, you guys have probably seen this bullshit before. This move, right? This is a cross-up that leads into a full combo. He has no way to cancel this. You see the cross-up, you can parry this on reaction. As opposed, yes, you can block it on reaction. You see this, you can block it, but you can stance cancel, you can do all this shit. Instead of just blocking it, why not parry and get a full punish instead? There's certain things that you have to be a little scared to parry. For example, this overhead. Yes, it's reactable. It's actually 1 frame slower than Vi's overhead, but the reason you have to be careful parrying this is because she can charge it instead and it looks the same. So for moves like this, instead of trying to parry just the slow overhead, the fast overhead, you actually just want to block this, right? Unless you have a read. And then if they ever attempt a slow overhead, that's what you want to focus on parrying because it's impossible for them to bait it, right? If I try to parry the slow overhead at the same speed as the fast overhead, see how my overhead is just going to whiff and I potentially get comboed, right? So the point of parry is reaction is best, and in particular, reacting to things that cannot be baited is the most important. And then if you have a read, try to react to things that can potentially be baited, but they're unlikely to bait. A couple other examples. You've probably seen a block string from Echo like this. This, again, reactable move, you can parry it. This is a little tricky to parry because he can actually bait you into parrying and then cancel the charge move into a replay. And it's unlikely the first time you play an Echo player, they're going to do that. Because once they start rewinding and doing all that shit, it leaves them more open to like just jumping out of pressure, and it leaves more gaps in their offense. Another example, again, this is a pretty meta team. You've probably seen this sequence where Jinx does a rocket and then Echo comes up and runs up and does some bullshit. If you parry the rocket, even though you don't get a punch, you actually cut your block stun way lower. It makes it so you have a lot less recovery after parrying the fireball. The other thing you should get used to with parry is parrying supers is actually generally pretty good, especially if they have double down. Take, for example, this sequence, right? This is really hard to punish. Because if I like run up and like try to smack Jinx, I'm gonna like just get hit by the rocket, right? Yeah, see how I'm getting hit, right? So maybe I could have got a throw, but you know, it's really difficult to deal with. What you should do in a lot of these situations is actually just go for the parry against the super. All you have to do, you just hit the parry once and you hit before the flash. You can actually hit super early. You see how early I'm hitting it? I'm hitting it almost like a second early and it'll come out automatically. And then I get a guaranteed punish. And yes, it scales your combo a little bit, but knowing that they can't go into something else and the fact that I don't take any chip damage usually means it's worth it to go for the parry. Same thing with everyone's favorite. Same idea. All you do, you mash parry during the animation, and you can literally just hold back and mash the shit out of parry. And you see how much meter I generate. I just build over a bar before they can actually go up and do a low. So even though I'm not actually punishing Jinx for it, at least I'm generating some meter that I can use for later. Another thing someone mentioned up in chat, you can just mash parry. Actually, spoiler alert, it's really bad to mash parry generally. So let's take, for example, I'm trying to parry this Darius assist on reaction. I mash it like a bunch. Even if I get the timing right, I'm just gonna cancel it immediately in the heavy because it stores your input. So actually for like these kind of reaction parries, you actually do not want to mash it. You just want to hit it once because then something like this will happen. Right? Same thing with like a parry here. You actually don't want to just mash the parry like this because you'll whiff a normal and then you won't get the actual punish. I struggle a lot to do what combo in the post parry. Okay, so the thing about post parry is you generally have a lot more time than you think. This says plus 60, which means you have a full second to get a combo. So even someone like slow like Lowy, just do medium heavy and this is a punish. See, I had time to dash up all the way. You have a lot more time than you think after a parry. And medium heavy is generally every character's best starter. You don't want to start with a light because it scales your combo. So you think fuzzy parrying is in... I don't think you mash parry... Oh, actually, we'll talk about that. I don't think YOLO parry is very good. Let's say I'm stuck in block hell. Oh, by the way, the first parry you should ever practice. Parrying this move here, right here, S1. It's a parry that can't be baited. And this is more reactable than overheads. This thing is just parry bait. But let's say I'm just doing like a defense block string, right? And I'm just doing bullshit like this. Mashing parry is not as good of an option as you think. So here I'm gonna just mash parry. See, I actually got caught low there because I was trying to mash a parry. So generally just YOLO parry is not a good idea because you have a really high chance of getting clipped low. It's not a very high percentage play. So generally, like, you want to have a read that there's going to be a gap. All right, fourth mechanic, retreating guard. This shit used to be broken. Now it's not broken. The reason it's not broken is because it can be caught in a lot of different ways. The idea is all you have to do is hit back and dash while guarding something, and you get space and you get meter. But this is really easy to break. So even though I'm low blocking here, I still get hit, and Darius can confirm that to a combo. So the question is, when would you retreating guard? And the short answer is when it's impossible for them to hit you with a low. Take, for example, Darius is not a good person to use. You can use retreating guard against Darius. So for example, this string, he has no way to cancel into a low. So after you see this, you can actually retreating guard and get a little bit of meter and a little bit of space. But it really doesn't make that much difference, right? Especially because you can just react to the second hit and try to parry it. A better character to use retreating guard against is this champ right here. This Jinx champ right here, right? So take, for example, this sequence. I guard all these gunshots. Well, you have a couple things you can do against the gunshots, right? You can like go for multi-parry. But what you can do is retreating guard. You can get out of the gunshots. You can get space in case they call assist, and you can build a little meter. For example, you're fighting Vi. After you see this crouch medium punch, you can just mash on retreating guard and build a lot of meter. Yes, she chases it pretty well, but it's better than the alternative of not generating meter. You can see the difference between no meter generation and actually generating meter through retreating guard, right? Now let's talk about one of the best uses of retreating guard. So there's this sequence here you've probably seen a million times where Echo will do S2, back S2, and then the super, right? This is really good because on hit, it leads to a full combo. And on block, Echo's Lift completely safe. And there's no gap, so I can't parry it, right? Actually, the best option against this is Mash Retreating Guard. And at least you're building meter. And you can do stuff like only Retreating Guard a couple times. So you have like more frame advantage. There's stuff you could play around with. But the short answer, Retreating Guard, is it's guaranteed in some situations and it builds you a little bit of meter and a little bit of space. So use it when they can't clip you low, because that's the main way you beat Retreating Guard. That being said, it's not as strong as some of the other mechanics. So generally, like, you're better off focusing on push block and parry if you're new to the game. All right, last thing I want to talk about, burst. Burst is really good. Obviously, use it a lot. A few thoughts on burst. The number one priority when using burst, make sure you use it at the right time. So take, for example, this combo right here. All right, there's 2 points in this combo that you don't want to burst. Can you notice both of them? All right, so let's look at the first part of the combo. If I set the dummy to, we'll put the dummy on break to hit on the second hit, right? So if I do something like this, that's actually pretty good. But you need to be careful, because if I change my routing and I go straight into down heavy, I'm able to bait the burst. So generally, bursting a ground combo before they use their launcher is actually pretty risky. And what I recommend is actually trying to, if you're like new to the game, is either look for specific moves where you know they can't cancel. So for example, like this, like if I go straight into this move, I can't cancel this, right? You can react to this tentacle launcher and burst. Alternatively, you can wait till I'm in the air, and that burst is also guaranteed, right? I don't really have a good way of baiting it. Now, I said there's 2 places you don't want to burst a combo, and it's actually when you have an assist out, right? So if I ever have an assist, if I'm ever doing this combo and I have an assist out, that burst isn't actually real. And the reason it's not real is anytime I'm doing this combo, I can actually switch to my other character as long as I have the other character available to switch, and I can punish the burst. There's not the best example because that burst actually wasn't punishable, but I'm tacking damage onto the point character and I get a safe way to pressure you. It's still a very, very bad burst point. So take, for example, this situation here. Generally, like, after I switch into a character, it is safe to burst. However, so for example, if they're playing like 2x assist and I get hit here, like that's a guaranteed switch, right? That being said, if you're playing freestyle and they happen to burst here, because you get 2 switches with freestyle, so there normally the burst would be guaranteed. However, against freestyle, I can actually switch back and block and beat the burst, and then you get comboed. Be really careful against freestyle. Make sure they waste both of their assists instead of just one. The last thing about burst that's really important is if you burst the opponent, generally you want to tag. So you could tag and then you have the character with less health in the back, but usually you want to make the most of this. So for example, if I'm playing Vi, I can do a charge S1 and then use that to follow in and get pressure, right? You want to maximize what your characters do, so instead of going back on defense, you can actually kind of start your offense from defense, right? And this is how you do it, is generally by doing some type of full screen move that enables you to start initiative. So again, this is an example of Malawi, is I can actually do charge down S2 and I can get a combo off that as well. Make sure when you do a burst that you're doing some type of move and then you're switching. Other than that, that's mostly it. Any defense questions? I think the one thing I forgot to talk about is fuzzy jab. So in this game, fuzzy jab is basically like you just do a delayed jab, right? In this game, if you do like a delayed jab as they're jumping in and you have a character with a fast jab, or like you could do like a throw at the same timing, you can actually beat certain things like empty jump low or empty jump throw. Again, this is something that exists in every game, but if you do like a jab at like the certain timing, it'll block the jump in, but they happen to do like something like mixy or nasty, right? Then the jab will come out. Oh yes, frame advantage is way less important in this game than other games. So, you know, a game like Street Fighter or Tekken, it's like what moves are minus, what moves are plus. In a game like 2xk or generally every tag game, you can make minus moves safe with assists, right? So like it doesn't really matter how minus certain normals are, right? Like, oh, this normal's -3 or -4. Doesn't really matter because anytime like I'm gonna catch you, like if you try to take your turn, I'm just gonna delay cancel the 2M and then you're gonna get fucked up, right? Like you should not concern yourself with the actual frame data of this game generally. Like I didn't know this was -4 until I saw it just now, and I'm allowing me, right? Because it does not matter because you can just cancel into stuff like this, right? The main things you want to know frame advantage of are stuff that they cannot cancel. So for example, Alawi S1, -23 on block. If they don't have assist available, you can run up, smack them, and get a punch. Another example is Vi. Vi players will do this string a lot. If they don't have assist to cover, that's actually -9, which means I can do a 8-frame punish option and get a punch. So there are some things that are important to learn, but generally it's specials that cannot be canceled in other specials. But other than that, I wouldn't concern yourself with frame data too much because in a team game, things can be made safe quite easily. Any tips on learning when to start your turn? Starting your turn comes down to stuff like push block and doing good get up attacks and that sort of thing. I guess the only other thing I'd say about starting your turn is level 3s obviously all have invincibility. You have to be really careful about when you're doing level 3s because, all right, so they're on reversal level 3, right? I can actually mash the tag button and that can block. So be a little careful with level 3s because if they can just tag, then you can block. But if they don't have like another character to tag into, level 3s become better, obviously. The other thing about starting your turn is generally if you block the initial mix-up, is like, let's say I'm playing Lowy and I'm playing just normal. After I block like something and I don't have assist, that's generally when it's your turn. So the mix-up here is like, after this, do I do a throw or do I do a strike? You guessed right here. Now it's your turn because I no longer have assist available and you're kind of pushed out. Look at it in terms of like, do they have their assist available or not for when you start your turn. How do I best survive Lowy S2 on knockdown? Time to guess asshole. There's some situations that are just legitimately messed up, right? Like for example, this is pretty messed up. That being said, there's still things you can do against this, right? You can try to forward roll out and hope the Alawi player is bad. It's actually a pretty consistent strategy because even if you forward roll, they can't punish you very well. The other thing I've labbed out against this is push block is actually pretty good because it pushes Lowy back even though the tentacles are projectile technically, right? You can also parry. You can actually parry the tentacles. You have a lot of different options. But my advice would be like, for these like specific bullshit situations, you have to lab it out and figure out what your best options are because usually it's very like context specific. You said parry is a good option against charge heavy, but mash is bad. So it's more of like, let's say Vi is doing this where they slightly delay their heavy, right? I see the slight delay heavy. I try to go for parry. My parry just doesn't come out. Here, let me turn on inputs. All right. See how my parry just doesn't come out? Because it's being eat by the, because I could do as late as possible. Now for a mash, I react with mash and I react too late. I'm dead for that. They literally get a full combo here. Reacting with parry is actually a lot safer in that situation, if that makes sense. Who's top 1 and why is it Yasuo? All right, that means the video's met critical mass. GG's. Like, share, subscribe if this was useful, and I'll catch y'all later. Yeah, generally holding down back to your best default option though. All right, anyways, like, share, subscribe. Take care, y'all, and peace.